Mr. President, I found this motion a curious one, and that curiosity was not quenched by my friend's contribution. So that perhaps it really falls to me today to underscore and explain and advance what is really meant by democracy, and to illustrate where the threats to democracy have traditionally come from with regard to how democracy functions in Trinidad and Tobago in general, and in particular how the democracy has been systematically undermined over the years in the Tobago House of Assembly. Mr. President, democracy is a form of government in which all eligible citizens have an equal opportunity in the decisions, to affect the decisions. It allows eligible citizens to participate equally, whether directly or through their elected representatives, in the proposal, development, and creation of laws. It encompasses social, economic, cultural conditions that enable the free and equal practice of political self-determination. It is, as my friend said, protected by the Constitution. Now, Mr. President, it is more than trite to quote the Constitution to us in a debate about democracy. It is more than trite. One really needs to go beyond the words of the Constitution, which really constitutes the framework of a working democracy. We have to now ask, how is democracy operationalized? It is operationalized by the participation of eligible individuals in the election process, by the peaceful transition of governments, by moving one party from government, as occurred in May 2010. A matter that my friend would have experienced firsthand. In fact, they know how democracies work. They've experienced it. Now, it is also operationalized by the fair distribution of services to the entire population, regardless of political leanings. Democracy, therefore, is more than elections. It is the participation of the people in development, creating a social landscape that promotes freedom, facilitating an economic landscape that is equitable, and supporting a cultural space for all. In this context, Mr. President, it is truly ironic that the opposition would move a motion such as the one we've just seen. Sure. A motion seeking to have this government reaffirm commitments to principles that the opposition scarcely have taken note of while they were in government. Principles to which they are totally alien, particularly in the context of Tobago and the now PNM THA.
Tell him that.
Mr. President, the opposition have consistently shut the people of Tobago out of developmental participation. From as far back as 1976, when Tobagonians exercised their democratic right to vote and voted for the DAC, the response of the PNM, Mr. President, was to shut down the Ministry of Tobago Affairs. That's democracy.
Tell them.
So what you say to me is, if I don't vote for you, you have no care for me?
Absolutely.
If I don't vote for you, I am not entitled to services? If I don't vote for you, I do not exist? You deny me a ministry, you deny me a voice, you deny me a vote, you exclude me from participation in the national patrimony, because that is what happened to Tobagonians. So the PNM's legacy was to deny Tobagonians the opportunity to participate in, have access to, or benefit from the fruit of democracy. But they're here today, Mr. President, talking about democracy. What is their history? What is their history? Tobago knows.
Undemocratic.
In my view, 1976 was when they should have moved this motion.
Oh.
How committed were they to democracy then? The 1977 motion of A.N.R. Robinson for Tobago to be accorded internal self-government was also not supported by the PNM. The question of the ability of any people to self-determination is a cornerstone of a democracy, a cornerstone. Yet when A.N.R. Robinson came to the parliament, moved a motion for internal self-government, it was shut down. So a cornerstone principle was denied, ignored, eradicated. So again, one wonders if my friend appreciates how the PNM democracy works against Tobagonians. Because we don't get the lauded democracy that he pays lip service to. We get a different brand of democracy. In fact, what we get in Tobago is really smallpox blanket democracy, PNM style.
Gangnam style.
Where was this motion, Mr. President, when the PNM denied Tobagonians the right to be in charge and to control the democratic management of the island's socio-economic and cultural development? How committed were they to democracy then? Because you see, we can't get away from the fact that it is more than water that separates Trinidad and Tobago. It is a different cultural space. It is a different socio-economic space. It is a different familial space. So that in that context, certainly the importance of preserving the elements I just described ought to have found themselves birthed in a motion such as this that my friends would have then supported. But it's too late. It is too late, please, Mr. Speaker, for them to come here and accuse the government of matters that they have not been alive to for over 30 years.
Tell them.
Change that just now, man, for TH.
A touchstone of democracy, of course, Mr. President, is the principle of accountability. You see, it's all good to come and talk about rule of law and constitution, and you pull these phrases out of the air.
Right.
But democracy is really more fundamental than these throwaway phrases. Democracy comprises esoteric elements that really build out into a complete framework that supports an entire population. One of these principles is the principle of accountability. So any commitment to democracy necessitates a commitment to democracy, a commitment to accountability. Having said that, let us consider the commitment that the PNM has demonstrated to this tenet as they have led the Tobago House of Assembly. For the 12-year period, 2001 to 2012, the PNM-THA malmanaged $20 billion.
Good Lord. You could have built a Tobago for that.
And you see, I don't say mismanage, you know, Mr. President, because mismanage suggests that it was an accident. It suggests that there may have been a bit of negligence. But this is not mismanagement. This is malmanagement.
Maladministration and deliberate.
This was deliberate. It was concerted. It was born out of malice. It was designed to destroy, to denigrate a people, a cultural space, and it was done consistently. And you know, I will demonstrate the malmanagement. I will demonstrate the malmanagement. According to the Auditor General's report for 2003, the PNM administration of the THA failed to account for $300 million. Now, again, remember, Mr. President, we are twinning accountability with democracy.
Correct.
commitment to democracy. So we have to talk about our commitment to accountability.
That's right.
And since they now lead the THA, their stewardship ought to illustrate that they adhere to this tenet of democracy, which is accountability. But the Auditor General's reports don't demonstrate that. So clearly this motion is farcical in the context of what they're doing now.
Well put, man. Well put. Well put it.
So in 2003, $300 million unaccounted for. We can safely say that they had no concern about accountability then, so they had no concern for democracy then. We go now to the Auditor General's report for 2004. The Auditor General reports that hundreds of millions were not accounted for by the PNM THA in the year 2004.
Again?
Again.
Good God, no.
You see, it's a pattern because, of course, if you are not committed to the democratic ideal of accountability,
Yes.
you see, it is a habit. Democracy is a pattern. Maladministration is a pattern.
Yes.
Malspending is a pattern.
Yes.
So it's not mismanagement, it's malmanagement.
Yes. Lessons in it.
So in 2004, what does the Auditor General report about the stewardship of the THA PNM with regard to democracy? The Auditor General says to us that there was a transfer of $4.6 million from the fund account to a contingency account in violation of financial rules.
Good.
The Auditor General tells us that the PNM THA settled a loan for a private company
What?
for $0.8 million. I have no idea, but again, my friends on the other side ought to know. They must tell us. They must tell us what friend, relative, or financier of the PNM needed their $0.8 million loan repaid from public funds.
I think Auditor General talking about.
Yeah. Give way to
The Auditor General reports that $88.9 million was withdrawn from the fund account without warrants. No indication of where the money went and what was the purpose. Now, $88 million at $7 million a school. How many schools were lost? Now, when you do PNM brand maths, it's only 2 schools. The Auditor General reports tens of millions of dollars were spent on items not approved by estimates. Now again, it is no accident that my friend who has moved the motion on supporting democracy has left the House. Because you see, when a mirror is held up to your actions, it's very difficult
to
stand up and face your own maladministration.
Put up the mirror.
We're still in 2004, Mr. President. $51.4 million over-reported on expenditure in the development program. Now, what does that mean? When you over-report expenditure, where is the gap of money? So you spend $5, but you say to us you've spent 10. Where is the gap of 5? Where has that money been siphoned, sidelined, parked? Where has it been parked? So we have this We have this anomaly with regard to